let's just talk about the immigration thing. The way it looks is horrific. It looks when you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
That everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Hi everyone, JJ here. Welcome back. Well, Joe Rogan seems to be swapping sides, or at least showing some empathy with what's going on. He blasts ICE and what's going on with the Trump administration's crackdown here, or how far it's going. He thinks it's gone too far, or he doesn't like how it looks. Is he swapping sides? We're going to look at what he actually said here. I'll react to it and what some other people are saying about it too. Prominent podcasters. Is the tide turning? Joe Rogan, is he finally saying that he's made a mistake? He doesn't actually say that. He should say that. Is he going to say that at some point?
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Find.
It's like there wasn't a pathway before. I'm trying not to butt in too much here. We'll let him talk and what he actually said about this issue, and then I'll comment on it and let him cook for a minute.
A way where you can do this thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay, but also have a fucking heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt.
Yeah.
Not a criminal. Not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico. And they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And they could get sent back. So, no one with a heart is going to go along with that.
No.
And no one, I did not ever anticipate seeing that on TV on a regular basis.
Me either, man.
Okay, so I've got to butt in here. Said he didn't anticipate what's going on. I mean, Trump in his campaign said that he was going to get rid of illegal immigrants. They're calling them illegal aliens, or just aliens for short, I've noticed. Chrissy Noman, people like that are saying things. Stephen Miller calling them illegal criminal aliens or just aliens. So it's like some sort of alien movie. But Joe Rogan said he basically saying he didn't sign up for this. But if you listen to what Trump said during the campaign, there was talked about, 10 million or more people getting picked out. These are not all people in gangs. It's just ridiculous to think that. Did they actually think that this wouldn't happen like this, that they wouldn't carry it out? And, prominent people like Joe Rogan saying stuff like this, I think is important at this time because he has such a big audience of enlightened meatheads, as Mark Maron called it. That was in one of my other videos. And so this is why it's important. He does have a massive impact, and he did help Trump get elected. And he's basically saying, I didn't sign up for this. I don't like what I'm seeing. And I think he's seeing that maybe 60% or certainly more than 50% of people are probably seeing it and not liking it, getting grandmas and grandpas and children dragged away with masked people in unmarked cars. This is what is happening now, and he's seeing that. Everybody's seeing that, and Joe's starting to pull back from it. Other people have too. Other big podcasters, Theo Vaughn, who did a video about, also doesn't like what's going on. So is the tide turning here? Will it make Trump pull back? Anyway, let's see what else Joe's got to say, and others after that as well.
Me either. It's shocking.
I really thought they were just going to go after the criminals. I really thought there was enough gang members.
How many criminals are there? It's going to be 10 million, millions of criminals. It's ridiculous to think that. It's just ridiculous to think that.
Enough people, MS-13 members and whatever they were looking for, that they're wanted, they would go after those guys.
Dude,
that's what I thought, right? But how many gang members have they actually arrested? This is how I think the only way to do it would be, where you could get everyone on your side. Borders are closed, and we're going to find out who's committed felonies. who out of the people that are illegal that have committed felonies? And if you've committed X amount of felonies, you have to leave the country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you've been robbing people for the last 10 years and you're an illegal, you have to leave the country, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
But
if that's what he thought was just going to happen, I mean, how many people is that really? They were talking millions and millions of people, and a lot of people did seem to sign up who are cheerleading this, actually like what's going on. I've seen people on Elon Musk's X for a start. You won't find it on Blue Sky very much, but people are cheering this on, like saying, I voted for this, when people are getting dragged away. And so Rogan is sort of trying to be moderate here in the middle, but there's a lot of people cheering for that and cheering on authoritarianism and, yes, fascism. You look at Stephen Miller, the rhetoric that he has, they'll go as far as the public really lets them. If the public turns against it, and Rogan can be a big part of this, then it won't happen. But they seem to be increasing it. If anything, the budget for ICE is just massive. They're militarizing, they're everywhere, going troops into different cities. It's looking very authoritarian, and even Joe Rogan is starting to notice this.
Here for 25 years, you have a family, your kids go to school here, you speak the language, but you're a contributing member to the community that up until now has been protected. This is crazy to ask lower income and middle income people who are, kind of getting by, and then all of a sudden you're about to ship them to a country where they've never been. They haven't been since they were 4.
Yeah.
And you're
the fact that he didn't think about this beforehand, that this wouldn't happen, that's what's crazy to me. It's happening just like a lot of people expected it to happen. It's playing out just like what I expected to happen. It's happening.
You're gonna pull up their family and they've been in the community like that. That shows no heart, and that's the problem. Like, you're not going to get any reasonable people to want to go along with that. Any kind person would look at that and go, "This can't be the only way to do this."
Damn right.
I think Joe goes with the trend, and I think he's seeing that the public trend, the public image of this is really bad. As he said, most people don't really want to go along with this. I think he can feel the tide change, perhaps, that it is brutal. It looks brutal. There's so many cameras showing the brutality of what's going on.
But you see, once authoritarianism starts creeping in and it makes some inroads, which it's definitely making right now, man. It's definitely making right now. So there's a lot of people who are in death wish mode right now, and they're just like, fuck yeah, get the troops in the fucking streets. These motherfuckers, I get my car broken into every fucking night. Nothing's happening. Let's go. And
I agree with that. There are people, as I said, cheering this on. It's like you can see how it happened in 1930s Germany. People cheering it on. Yeah. Military in the streets, jackboots in the streets, drag those people off that we don't like. The enemy from within.
Their perspective, it all makes sense. But the problem is, once we all start getting used to the military in the streets,
and once we just accept it,
that's no good.
You can see Joe's brain ticking over. Oh, do we really want military in the streets? Like, he hasn't thought of this before until now, until it's really happening. When a lot of people, saw what they wanted to do. Stephen Miller says it. You can tell he's itching. He's itching for this to happen, to go more and more. The 3,000 a day he wanted. You do the math on 3,000 people a day, and over 4 years, that is so many people. And so did Joe think that they were just going to take, the gang criminals? No, and they'll take more as they can get more, more and more, as long as it's popular.
What did you think was going to happen? Like, what do you think was happening before, and what did you think was going to happen after Trump?
Yeah, exactly. So this is Sam Cedar from Majority Report, if you don't know, and that's Francesca Florentini as well. I like seeing these two together talking. Now, if you're getting value out of this episode so far, I'd really appreciate it if you remember to hit that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. It really does help. Thanks.
The idea that the Biden administration was just letting Obama, they're just letting criminals run around and not going after them. It's absurd. It's absurd. But Obama deported more people than Trump has.
Well, what's the actual problem being solved here? Is it the country's getting too brown, or is it the economy?
Bingo. That's what Stephen Miller, if you look at Stephen Miller's history, I watched a podcast the other day on what more news, I think it's called, where they went back in the history of this guy, even going back to high school. He was always super racist, always a white nationalist. That is the agenda that he wants, and he's pushing for it. Trump's right-hand man, really.
Like, right, like it's never addressed which one it is, and like it's clear that what's being done now is because the country's getting too brown.
Yeah.
Well, it's mission creep. The whole thing is mission creep. What's striking to me about this is that Rogan sounds like a Democrat. This is what Democrats say.
So she's not saying that in a good way, really. So critical of both Democrats and Republicans here. And, you know, the more mainstream Democrat that really has had similar rhetoric, and that has been pointed out many times, but the Trump administration is definitely going into that authoritarian, brutal territory as much as they can get, as fast as they can.
You should
Yes, the border needs to be secure. Of course, I believe the border needs to be secure. But the way it's being done is really bad. Well, is the border insecure? No, it's not, actually. Are there criminals in this country? No, there actually are not, to the extent that you think there are. Right?
To the extent, that's right. I mean, how many in numbers? When they all along, they were talking millions and millions. Did people really think that there are millions and millions of gang-style criminals, illegal aliens that they need to get rid of, and now they're deporting them to even countries where they didn't come from? Or being deported as a threat of that is turning into sadism, brutality.
And there
Immigrants are less likely to do crimes.
Like, exactly. What about where are all the drug busts that we're missing out on? How come we don't have that footage of all these,
it's amazing how
parents with their
Trent
kids?
Agua, they hide in mom costumes and
Yes.
grandpa costumes. Like the idea.
That's right. You think if they had all these gangs with drug busts, they'd put cameras on there, go in there and show, look what we're doing. But it's not that. They're dragging like normal people out and from Home Depot and places where they work, working people, dragging them out. This is what is so disturbing to a lot of people now, and it should be.
Rounding up Trent Agua and dangerous criminals. Where's the footage? Because they're always with a camera crew. Where's the footage of the shootouts?
Yeah.
Where's the guns being fired at? Where's the knife that was pulled on a nice guy?
It's very Al
they
Shifa
all
hospital
have
raid.
camera crews. Like what we're seeing right now is as much a product of your work. Like if your work has done anything.
So he's talking about Joe Rogan's work here, that he did help get Trump elected. He would say not, but Trump actually thanked him. You know, the power of these podcasters in that last election cycle was huge. And Joe Rogan did help get Trump elected. Absolutely. Theo Vaughn as well. And so now they're seeing some of the bad results of that and pulling back from it a little bit, but still playing both sides. If I were to play more Joe Rogan, he kind of goes back to his 4 or 5 positions as well. So he is still playing both sides. And that's just one clip from a long podcast, and they started, talking pro-Trump things. So it's just one thing that he doesn't like. He hasn't apologized and say, I shouldn't have voted for Trump. I shouldn't have supported Trump. He hasn't said that yet, and neither has Theo Vaughn. He hasn't come out and said that yet. He hasn't gone all that way. Wish he would go all that way, because you can see he's almost there. Just come out and say it, Joe. Just come out and say it.
It has brought us to this point.
By the way, that clip is so inflammatory to his fans. If you go on his YouTube channel, they are furious with him.
They're furious because
this liberal horseshit that he's
yeah.
spewing. Yeah, they're furious. They're like, I'm so sick of rich people who aren't feeling the implications of unfettered immigration, just telling me I need to have a heart.
And so this is one of those people. So Asmongold here, who is, if Joe Rogan's audience is enlightened meatheads, I think his audience must be meatheads, because this guy's he's definitely authoritarian. Anything that Trump wants, he's all for it. Yeah, cheerleading what's going on here. So he obviously disagrees with Rogan. Streamer, by the way, if you don't know, Asmongold has a big audience in his own right. Just not as big as Rogan.
The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
I guess I don't have a heart.
Oh, yeah.
I'm totally okay with it. I think they should do it more.
Yeah, so he's cheering on the stuff. You can see how this happens, how populations get convinced of this stuff, no matter what happens, how brutal it gets, troops on the streets, all that stuff. People like him with big audiences are cheering this stuff on still, where even Joe Rogan is pulling back from it. Not sure about this, didn't sign up for this. People like Asmongold, yeah, I signed up for this.
Just because you have your kids with you doesn't mean that you're immune to consequences. Yeah. It's emotional manipulation. And I think that
I really do not like this guy. Every time I see something from him, it seems unbelievable.
This is what's happened. I think this is what's very clearly happened, is that people like Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, a couple of these other podcasters, they are afraid of the negative optics of, arresting people in front of their kids or something like that. And they don't want to be seen as that kind of a person. But really, it's not about the optics. Anybody, if you're ever worried about the optics of something, you've now become manipulated by a person who wants to take advantage of you, because you've effectively given your ability to decide your own fate away to somebody else who oftentimes doesn't want you to succeed.
That's such a bad argument. So if your position, what he's saying is you should stick to your position. And so if your position is, yeah, we want authoritarianism, yeah, we want fascism, we want the brutality, don't back down from that, because somebody else is convincing you. So just, if you think back in history, if you agreed with the regime that was going down that road, again, I point to 1930s Germany. That it was too late at one point for anybody to do anything about it. They didn't have this, feedback media that we have, interactive media to push back on it back then. But yeah, sure, Asmongold, stick to it. If you're authoritarian, stick to it and see how that goes. See how in history that goes for you.
So really, whenever you're caring about how will people who don't like me perceive what I'm doing? Well, they're going to try to make it look wrong. They're going to try to make it look bad.
This can't be the only way to do this.
Damn right.
So you can see there, I mean...
Okay, so this is Tim Miller from The Bulwark. I like what he's saying here as well. Another perspective on this about Joe Rogan. He does say here about Joe Rogan's influence and how it is going in a better direction, not just from a leftist point of view or a liberal point of view, but for the country as a whole, the way that what this administration is doing, this pushback from people like Rogan.
He's responding just emotionally. Like, this is an empathetic response from Rogan, right? It's like not really about, winning this fight on the policies. It's not really about, concerns about the border, fentanyl, because Rogan still has those, right? Like, this is about just a human that lives in this country saying, no, I do not want to be part of the team that is going and menacing and hassling and harassing and arresting and shackling people who have been productive members of society in front of their kids.
Exactly. At what point do you start pushing back and saying, no, I don't want to have anything to do with this? This is too far.
Don't want these thugs going into communities and going after people and doing so in a way that's going to traumatize their families. Most people are not saying, I'm for Trump, I'm putting on the black hat. Elon did. There's some...
That's Elon's hat, the black hat saying, I'm dark MAGA. That looked very, very like a Nazi-ish type of look. Well, yeah.
Blackouts out there. But most of them thought they were doing what was right. And these images, a priest getting gatted with a pellet gun, it starts to lay bare for people that, oh man, like, this is bad. I don't want to be one of the bad guys. I don't want to be one of the people that is responsible for sending a law-abiding person, a person that's just trying to do their job and go to church and be a part of their community and do the right thing. I don't want to send them to some country that they've never been to before, that they don't remember. If you're kind of a libertarianish type guy, you do not want, the fucking armed representatives of the state targeting people and going after them and punishing them just because they grew up on the wrong piece of dirt. The pressure needs to be kept on, because what this administration is planning is not dialing this back, not trying to appeal more to Rogan. They're stepping on the gas. They're escalating. They have more funding for ICE. They have more propaganda and agitprop coming. And so that's got to be countered with counter messaging. And I think effective counter messengers are these folks that were for Trump and that are visible.
Yes, exactly. So he's talking about, Joe Rogan, Theo Von, those big, well, turned into right-wing podcasters really, but starting to pull back because they are seeing it, that reasonable people are starting to say, what is going on here? What are we doing with this brutality and dragging people off the streets? And the government should respond to that. There's a long way to go yet, I think. And as I said, these guys haven't actually said it was a mistake and stepped back from it completely, but they're just making noises. By the way, if you don't know yet, I did post this in the community section on YouTube on this channel. I've done a longer podcast over the weekend. I think I can fit in, where I go through stories. I went through 9 or 10 stories over about an hour or so talking about news. So a longer format. If you like the long form, I'm going to put a link in the pinned comment and in the description here to go and check that out. This is on the Politics Unfiltered channel, the Art of Value Politics Unfiltered. If you want to check that out, if you don't know about that already. And right now I'm going to put a link to that video right here if you want to go and see that. And also a subscribe link. Do subscribe to the channel if you want to. And do join as a paid member if you want to support the channel. And you get videos about 7 hours, usually early access to videos and priority reply to comments as well. Get a lot of comments these days. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.